the anticlimactic.
Good Wednesday evening, ladies and gentlemen,
There we go.
and welcome to Dawn of Discussion with your hosts, Guy and Ron. Here we are. So, before we start today's episode, just a friendly weekly reminder to subscribe to the channel, because let's be honest, we keep posting it on Facebook, but it's just so much easier if you just if you just check on YouTube. It's going to be there like 15 minutes ahead of time. You'll know that the stream is happening same times every week. And also, a quick, it's second week of March. You know what that means? Plugging my album. Gonna be out on the 5th of March. Pretty much any digital store, which includes streaming services like Spotify and Tidal and Deezer and whatever you may come up with. But it is currently available for pre-order in iTunes and Amazon Music. I'm not saying Amazon Music because the cover art is still fucked. But if you want to buy my album via iTunes, which is cheaper anyway, there's a link in the description. It's only £3. It's like a Tesco's meal deal, except that you won't consume it in like 10 seconds. Cool. That's my messages for the guy. Do you wanna?
And don't forget our second sponsor, Shady Raid Legends.
Oh yeah, Shady Raid Legends.
Because it's shady as fuck that the Raid Shadow Legends hasn't fucking sponsored.
Yeah, I'm salty about that because I feel like we're the perfect channel to do that with. We're about meme culture and they're a meme. Like what? I don't know. Anyway, who's our special guest in the background this week?
And the source of our topic.
It's John McClane. Why is it John McClane, Guy?
Well, for a few reasons. But man, that was a fun film. Such a great Christmas movie. But apparently they are going to be remaking or rebooting, at the very least, rebooting or remaking Die Hard with Charlize Theron, which you may think, okay, weird, but
As in she's in it, yeah.
she's in it, and also apparently she's gay for a reason or another. Well, I don't know why that's important.
I mean, I'm not gonna judge. That's not a problem.
But yeah, it's a bit frustrating that they
also,
have
if you haven't caught on at this point, she's not only in the film and not only playing a gay woman in the film, she's playing a gay John McClane in the film. She is the title character. Well, not the title character. She's not Die Hard. Whatever. But yeah, she's the main character.
But yeah, and I don't know how. I know how to feel about it, which is unimpressed and not happy. But yeah.
I mean,
we've gone on about it, but we have to talk about it again because Hollywood keeps making the same mistake.
The problem is, right, with this kind of thing, personally, like, we're still gonna watch it once it comes out because it's a train wreck.
Because we love train wrecks.
Yeah, it needs to be behold. But the problem is that it's becoming more and more frequent now. To do this kind of thing where, like, not just gender swap, but you have to add like a little extra flavor on top of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not good enough to just have it be a woman. She has to be a gay woman or a BAME woman. You know what I mean?
Or black. That's another big thing.
Well, that's what I meant with BAME. BAME is black, Asian, or minority ethnic.
I did not know that. You learn something new every day.
Now you know. This is an ongoing thing. I think this is strictly an abbreviation for the UK. But basically, that's just like a collective term for all minorities, which is a bit dumb, because there's more minorities than actual white people. So I don't think it's worth actually. Yeah.
Going into it. Yeah. I just can't understand the logic. Like every single time Hollywood has tried this.
Well, it's pandering, isn't it?
It's not, but the thing is, this pandering that isn't working because Ghostbusters didn't do well. No. Ocean's 8 didn't do well.
No.
The Equalizer television show, which I didn't even know was a fucking thing, isn't doing well. Like
Yep.
they do all these things, and they're thinking, oh, it'll be a success because people want to watch this stuff. And then as it turns out, no, it's a complete travesty,
Yeah.
and no one gives a shit.
For those who don't know, by the way, just a bit of background on the Equalizer. Apparently, it started off as, I don't know if it was films or like a TV show.
It was a
Um,
TV show, I think, set in
yeah.
the 80s, not
And
70s,
it
but
was
80s.
a white man, right?
Yeah.
So when they made the films with Denzel Washington, they recast him as a black man. Which,
Yeah.
if I were to see that today, I would think to myself, I'm not a huge fan of this decision, but it is Denzel Washington, so I know exactly what kind of film I'm in for. So it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But then in a new TV show airing on CBS pretty much every Monday night, I think at this point, um, they've made it so that the main character is now a black woman.
So they've
And
gone one step even further now.
yeah, and it's not that we have a problem with black women or
Or
women.
women in general, or
No,
black
not
people,
at all.
or
No,
white people.
happy belated Women's Day. Um, but the problem that we have is recasting a character that is beloved by many and then changing them in such a way that is clearly just for political reasons,
Mm,
or trying to pander to some sort of fan base that you may or may not have, because that's all
yeah,
this is as far as I'm aware.
yeah, it is. It's trying to look progressive while failing to do it miserably because everyone knows you're just doing it to look progressive rather than doing it for storytelling purposes and actually making a good show about an interesting character.
Having said that, I haven't actually seen anything from The Equalizer.
Uh, just from what I can gather, it's just not been received. Like critics are kind of like
I mean,
meh about it, but audience is just
yeah.
uninterested and
Well,
unimpressed.
there's
But
better stories to tell, I think, and the problem is, do you know what? I'm going to flip the subject a little bit, if you don't mind, because I think the main subject that we want to discuss is like, gender bending characters and stuff like that. But I want
yeah,
to focus on why we're doing this stuff, right? And I
yeah,
think the main reason why this happens is because people have this certain sense of, they have this perspective that there aren't a lot of interesting female characters in the world, but there are a lot of male interesting characters in the world. And because they do so well and people love the media with them in it,
mm,
it would be easier to just change a character to be something that they're not, rather than come up with an original character to
yeah.
to basically. But because like, I'll be honest, like I haven't seen many of what's his face's films. The guy who made Bridesmaids and um
Oh
Ghostbusters,
yeah,
Paul
yeah,
Feig. Paul Feig. I haven't seen many of his films. I've seen a couple and I hated most of them. Just because they
yeah,
are incredibly cringy and they're trying to instill a point that women are funny. Like, haha, you think Kevin James is funny because he's fat? You will love Melissa McCarthy because she's fat and a woman.
yeah,
Um, Meanwhile, like, while Kevin James is funny because he's fat, it's also because he has some fucking zingers
yeah.
that have
Exactly.
entirely, it's not the fact that he's fat, it's the fact that he's fat on a Segway. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah. No,
still
I know.
like, it's also fun. He's also funny because he's not funny. You know what I mean? Like, we're not laughing with him, and I think that's
We're
that's a
laughing at him. Yeah,
perception. Yeah, that's a perception that needs to like go out of people's heads first and foremost, because this is the thing. Like, honestly, like, when can you honestly say, when you watch a film with like a male protagonist that is supposed to be funny, do you often find yourself laughing with the main character or at the main character? If you really think about it,
yeah,
genuine
yeah.
question.
It's well, I'm trying to think of like because it will often, I think, depend on the film and the character. But I guess in the end, you're always sort of laughing at them in their situations. That's kind of the point of most comedy films, I find. In the end,
Yeah,
yeah,
that is kind of the point.
yeah. Sorry, I was just looking up something that made a good point about the issue of like, because sort of going into that topic of like the issue with people creating original characters, which we've talked about. Someone made the point of like there are lots of different, male lead tropes. There's the broody, silent type guy. There's the strong, willful guy, and there's all these different tropes. But for the classic iteration of females, there's always usually been kind of five, which is the caring mother, the ditzy girl, the girl trying to be a boy, the femme fatale, and the damsel in distress,
Mm.
which are the classic five tropes. And I think, that projection that women are kind of done with all five tropes and want something new. And ultimately, what Hollywood has tried to do is basically take male tropes and reverse gendered them, which can work if done well, but typically don't, because what they're doing is not switching the actual trope with the gender for the trope. They're actually just swapping characters around from gender to gender. So, as we said, they're taking John McClane and
Yeah.
turning him into a woman. Done that with the Equalizer, and essentially what they're doing is not taking a trope and reversing the role for that. What they're taking is a character that fits into a trope and reversing the characters
Yep.
that they're around.
And also with those specific examples as well, all that ends up happening is you end up still sticking them to a trope that is already established for women. Because you said one of the tropes is femme fatale. That's exactly what you end up getting. So
Yeah,
you've actually not furthered your point in any sort of way.
yeah. I think that's often like the issue. I think that essentially I think the idea of taking classic stereotypical male tropes, the dozens of them that there are in terms of film in Hollywood, and just flipping them around, I think that works. But the issue that we've often found is that they're doing it very much in the wrong way.
Oh yeah.
You know, basically taking characters and swapping them around instead of actually thinking about doing something with a new film and a new title. And the issue is, they'll spend hundreds of millions on these other films, thinking, oh, if people see a female version of Die Hard, they'll invest in that and think, no, if you would spend those hundreds of millions in a female-led role film with an actual good script and a decent director, there might be a chance with that. But they
Yeah.
haven't done that.
Trying to think of like, because this is the point that we always the problem that I find is like I then try to think of like what is a good film with like a female protagonist that doesn't like make me irk so much.
There are very few of them, but I
But
can think of
they are
a few.
out there. Like again,
Yeah.
like I think we're very
Alien,
outspoken fans of Wonder Woman as well.
yeah, Alien, probably honestly the first one in my opinion. Alien and Aliens with Sigourney Weaver as Ellen Ripley, I think is one of the classic ones. And what else? Weirdly enough, anything that James Cameron's kind of done, he's done a good job with, because weirdly he knows how to write female characters very well.
Eh.
Really?
I mean the last Terminator, you know.
Uh,
I
did
mean
he
he
even
produced
write the last?
I think he produced it more than he wrote it, but he gave it his solid seal of approval,
Yeah.
stating that it's the official end of the trilogy.
I mean, to be fair, that's one of those things where, to be fair, the way you could read into that is him saying that's the official end of the trilogy, but it wasn't good. Yeah, it was that bad. It's the official end to Terminator.
Yeah, it's
We're not
done.
doing
We're
any
not doing
more
this.
after
Yeah,
this.
except that they are, but that's not important.
They are
Um,
making another Terminator film.
Eventually they would do. Yeah.
I know they made a game which apparently did very well.
Yeah, yeah. So,
What was it?
um,
Terminator Resistance, I think it was, something like that.
yeah, something like that.
Hmm.
But yeah. But anyway, like I think about. I know I'm gonna get flack for this, but the Charlie's Angels film from like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Honestly, solid. I actually quite
Yeah.
like that one.
Yeah. What was it? It was the one with
Drew
watching it.
Barrymore,
Drew Barrymore and
fucking Cameron Diaz,
yeah, and there
Matt
was one.
LeBlanc, John Cleese is in it as well.
Who was the other angel though?
Lucy Liu, it
Lucy
was.
Liu. That's right. The other badass chick. And it was a television series before as well, from 76 to 81,
It was, yeah.
which,
Um,
yeah,
I think it was adapted later on into an animated TV show as well called Totally Spies, which
I
was
think, yeah, that was
part
basically
of my
that.
childhood. So it's
Yeah, it
whatever.
was.
I'm
That was a big
like
part of
it's
my
funny
childhood.
these days when I think about these shows that like as a boy when you're watching these you're kind of embarrassed to admit you like them. Um, but
No,
like
mate,
like
fucking
this
solid shit.
solid shit. It's also like Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yeah,
Yeah, I watched that unironically.
yeah. Weirdly,
It,
I couldn't get into the Netflix version of it.
I didn't even bother. It looks
Like,
like
I gave it a few episodes because I heard some good things about it, but afterwards, it's like, nah, it's just not the same. It's just not the
it's
same.
just trying to be
So
edgy.
it is. It's trying to be edgy, and I was like, nah, I miss
Yeah.
the old classic style.
Also, if you let's be honest,
That's fine.
Sabrina is good. Like Melissa Joan Hart does a solid job.
Yeah,
But it's really about the cat.
yeah, yeah. It is about the cat. Yeah.
So
What's the cat's fucking name again?
Salem.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was Salem. Yeah. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, I've even been watching this show. I think I've mentioned it to you, made by Rooster Teeth, called Ruby, which is basically 4 female-led characters. And I really like it. I think it's been done
Mm.
very well. And I think it's weird that basically a YouTube production company is able to produce better content than Hollywood for female characters. It's a sad day when Hollywood can't even really compete with that quality.
Well, because Hollywood doesn't know what it's trying to do.
That's very true. Hollywood thinks it knows its audience, but it
Yeah.
very rarely does. Weirdly, I think Disney's the only one that kind of has an idea. Basically, it's very much a we'll throw out like 100 films, 50
Yeah.
of them will be good, 50 of them will be terrible, but those 50 that are good will make up for the 50 that are terrible.
Yeah. Well,
That's
here's the
their
thing.
logic.
I hate to
Quantity.
say it this way because I've always kind of opposed this idea, but in a way, Hollywood is basically kind of like a startup funding business kind of situation where basically someone pitches a business idea to them, they go,
Yeah.
that's great, let's invest in that, and then they hope that they invest in the ideas that will bring them the most money. That's
Yeah.
what they really care about, and that's a calculated process. Like it's
Hmm.
not it's I don't think emotions really play into it. Like I think there are a lot of ideas that go to Hollywood that are genuinely really very good and have all the chances of succeeding, but then, people in Hollywood go like, your idea is great, but it's not going to make us any money, so we don't really want to do this.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue, as we've talked about, that someone will come up with a great idea, it's a great film, it's really interesting, and then Hollywood guys, nah, it won't make us enough money. It's like, well, no, because you won't invest in it. Like I can imagine honestly that there have been probably maybe 10 versions of the same film that have been pitched to them that we've just never seen. We don't even know what it's like or about, but it could be really fucking good. It could be the next big thing. And just
So yeah,
Hollywood's gone, no, it's not Marvel. No, it's not a female version of this
well,
character.
it's not a
No,
safe bet. It's not a
it's not
safe
a safe.
bet, and this
And
is the
then you look,
problem. Go on.
no, it was more just thinking about like, you look back at like certain films like 80s and 70s, 80s, and 90s. You had Jaws. That
Mm,
wasn't a safe bet. You have Star Wars, which was probably iconically the least safe bet in history and
absolutely.
ballooned to be the biggest fucking thing that they've ever done for 20th Century Fox
I think the
at the time.
70s were a different time though,
Yeah,
a
like there was
very
more
different
risk.
time.
It felt more risk-taking time. Like people were thinking, nah, we've got to find the next big thing.
Well, yeah, because
And the
trends weren't really set back then.
Yeah, trends weren't really, yeah, set at all. Like there wasn't like the closest that there was to a trend was the classic cheese B-rated action film. But even then, that wasn't
Even
like
then, that
that
wasn't
wasn't
until the
what
80s,
everyone was.
really.
Yeah, that's not what Hollywood was after. They were kind of like, yeah, we'll make the average,
Yeah,
cheese fest action film to make us a bit of money, but we're looking for something that will steal the show. And I think the closest we've come to in decades to that is the Marvel stuff. When all of a sudden this propped up this massive multiverse of stuff to
yeah,
that universe, and that just stole the show. That's the closest thing I think Hollywood's come to taking the biggest risk ever.
pretty
But yeah,
much. I mean, I'll be honest, the noughties was a time of many risks. Not all of them paid off in big ways.
Oh no.
I think.
And sorry, weirdly, it's some of them didn't pay off at the time, but then
Okay.
paid off later. The classic cult films that at the time didn't do well, and now people look back on and go, "Yeah, that's a fucking great film."
The Room.
The Room, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
Mars Attacks.
yeah. To be fair, that is a real Hollywood movie. So
It's real Hollywood movie, Greg.
yeah. So we can't shit talk that for being the
No.
the great investment opportunity that was. Um, I mean, I don't think it was actually invested in. Anyway, that's kind of thing. Like, yeah, like I said, like the 70s was a very different time. I don't think there were trends like today where like, today if you make a superhero film, you're set. If you have a
Yeah,
film with so and so actor, you're set. If you have a film that has something to do with current events, you're set. If you have a film with The Rock in it, don't even bother pitching it. It's already in. It's already in the making.
this is just a cheap idea. We should just go to some fucking studio run, you and me in America, and we'll just say, "Look, we've got a film. Yeah, it'll have The Rock in it." So you haven't heard the story,
Literally.
then? I need to hear it. It's got
Well,
The Rock.
well, here's the thing. If you'd like to hear me out, I think I already pitched this to you before, but I genuinely have an idea for a game show with The Rock. All right?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Yeah.
Okay, so for the audience at home, picture this. So on stage, right? There's The Rock kind of in the middle there with a bunch of kitchen appliances and utensils. Yeah? And like a chef's hat, obviously. On each side, there's a table, like a participant's table, and at each table you have a Michelin star seated, right? But blindfolded, so they can't see what's going on, right? And so now the Rock starts cooking. But obviously, like now, he's doing all this cooking stuff. The Michelin stars are like talking about, crazy shit that they've seen. Gordon Ramsay might be saying, oh, this is the worst case on Hotel Hell I've ever seen, or Jamie Oliver might say, well, this is the most fucked up school trip that I've ever been on. That kind of thing. But then The Rock has finished cooking, right? No, he's still cooking actually. At some point, the aromas start spreading, and now it's down to the Michelin stars to figure out what he's cooking just going by the scent of the food that is being cooked. And if they guess it correctly, he will say, "You can smell what the Rock is cooking." And they get like a prize or something. And if they don't, then he goes, "You cannot smell what the Rock is cooking." And then he like grabs you into a headlock or drop kicks you or something like that.
He rock bottoms you.
He rock bottoms you. That's basically what happens. And so the name
Maybe
of the
does the eagle
show,
elbow first, actually.
exactly, maybe hits you with a chair. Who knows? It's a wild ride there.
Yeah.
And the show is called "Can You Smell What the Rock is Cooking?" And the main reason why I want to see this is because I want to know if he goes to hit Gordon Ramsay with the chair, if Gordon Ramsay like catches the chair and fucking reverses the attack.
Because he's fucking Gordon Ramsay, and that's
And
all
then
you need to know.
Gordon Ramsay just go like, "Is this a wrestling event from like 30 years ago? Because this is fucking Raw."
Raw's still going though, so it's still current.
Is this a current wrestling event? Because it's fucking Raw.
Sorry. Two things. One, I actually think that would make a great SNL sketch.
Yeah, I don't think it would last an entire season.
No, it wouldn't lie. It's a sketch.
It's a sketch.
But what was it? I was just thinking. On a random note about The Rock, talking about him, just because fuck it, this is a podcast. We talk about random shit. Like his one of his signature moves is the people's elbow, right?
Right.
You know why he came up with that?
No.
He came up with that simply to try and make a wrestler called The Undertaker laugh and break character. So him and a couple other wrestlers had a bet to try and make this one wrestler laugh because he never broke character, and they're like, "No, we got to get him. We're gonna have to get him." So he literally came up with that to try.
Did it work?
No, never. No one ever got him
Course.
to broke.
Can't crack the Undertaker.
No. But
Anyway, just anything with
and
The
the
Rock.
show will open with The Rock's actual entrance theme. Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?
And everyone in the crowd is going, "Yes! I can't hear you! Yes!
Yes!
You lie, because I haven't started cooking."
And occasionally he'll have like a special guest, which would be one of his other famous wrestling buddies, like fucking Stone
Mr.
Cold
T, I
Steve
pity the
Austin,
food.
or like fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin going, and that's the bottom line, or some bullshit like that. Cause Stone Cold says
I just go like, "This food isn't warm. Were you saying that I'm cooking my
it's
food so
Stone
cold?"
Cold. Oh no, we have. This is a one episode idea, Ron.
This is a one episode idea, but it's gonna fucking work. Patented sketch show. If I see SNL do this, I will sue them hard.
You need. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I will literally just go, "Hey, do you know what? I was talking about this before you guys did this. This is my
And now you've
show.
done it. This is my idea.
This is my idea. The
And
Rock should be on my show. You don't have a show. It doesn't matter."
he should be on my podcast.
Yeah, The Rock should be on this podcast. I have a lot of questions for him. Like, what is it actually that he's cooking? Like, what is his best dish, you know?
And how many women have climbed that mountain?
No, I do not want to know that. Not necessary. Not necessary at all.
Oh god. But I hate me. But
Anyway,
I feel like now we have to circle
yeah.
back around,
Like, you know.
or that's the thing. Like we can go on and on about like Hollywood and the fact that all they want to do is like follow trends and things, but there's really not much now to say about it. We've kind of talked about it, I think, quite a
We
bit.
have, yeah. And basically, because the problem is, right, because Hollywood is doing it, everyone else is doing it. Because they're like, oh, well, this is clearly what people want to see then. You could say that independent films are doing better than Hollywood because they are not like mandated by this team of distributors who want things in a particular way. And I suppose you'd be right, but not really.
Yeah.
Like, I can't really think of any independent films that I've seen lately that have actually
Stood out, because
impressed
I think
me.
the issue is with a lot of independent films, a lot of them also do follow a trend. Like
Yep.
they're very pompous and arrogant, and they all have like a very heartfelt story to tell about something that's based on a true story, or it's some
Yeah.
bullshit road trip movie about how people come of age, or grow after going
Yeah.
through a dark time. It's always that kind of shit, or they don't grow at all at the very end. It's like, I realize deep down, if I can't be satisfied with who I am right now, then I could never be satisfied, or some bullshit like that, where
And
you're
then they
just
kill
thinking like,
themselves.
yeah, and they kill themselves. It's so fucking melodramatic. I think,
Yeah.
because like I think weirdly, like 2015, I would argue, was when the real downhill period started of all this shit happening. Before that, there was
yeah.
evidence of it starting, but it didn't begin, or wasn't as prominent. I think there were a few milestone films that came out that kind of made it clear that the golden age of Hollywood has kind of passed weirdly, despite in terms of quality, not in terms of quantity or money making, because they're making a lot more now than they ever did.
Yeah, well, not now, but like, this time last year-ish.
Yeah, exactly. In 2019, 2018, it was the golden time for Hollywood and money making.
Yeah.
With things like Infinity War, Endgame, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah.
The thing as well, what I found out. So, as you know, I've got an album coming in 2 weeks. But the point that I'm getting at is when I was looking through like distributions and stuff like that, I found out that there's essentially like certain providers who can who perform certain services for you. It's not just like getting your product in as many stores as possible, but also like advertise it for you, run it into particular playlists on like Spotify or some stuff like that to like get more views and stuff like that. And then I found out that there's an even higher tier on a different distributor that's like £150 or something per year or something. I didn't even know how much. And if you do that, your record becomes eligible for any of the American Music Awards. So what I've learned from that is that, for instance, obviously I haven't done that because I don't see that kind of
Yeah.
situation ever like happening to me. I don't see my stuff getting recognized for an award, and I don't need it to. But basically, because I am only paying $20 per year for my distributor, or 35 even, it's rather £20. Because I'm paying £20 per year for my distributor, I'm not eligible for any awards. And so I started
Oh,
thinking about it. For films, it's got to be the same thing, where like
yeah.
you have to pay like a certain sum of money when you release a film, or when you send it to particular festivals, to make them eligible to actually participate in an award um, of a certain stature. Um, Maybe not Cannes, because Cannes is independent, so it will probably like be more like you're actually paying to get the award in. Bribing the judges and all that. But I mean, like, not that that doesn't happen for the Academy Awards and stuff like that, but for those specifically, like for the Academy Awards, for the Golden Globes, I think there might be like a certain fee that probably isn't even cheap that you have to pay when you're submitting your stuff to actually be eligible to win an award. And so I think what's happening is that there's a lot of filmmakers who don't particularly care about this. And they're like,
Yeah.
fucking whatever, I'm probably not gonna win an award, so this is pointless for me. I'll just get it like out there in the world. I think there's a lot of people who are like emerging filmmakers with a lot of money who will not only get that but also like put in extra money just to be like nominated or even win the award um
Yeah.
without their real deservings. and
Yeah.
and then what that does essentially is put them on the old map. Like, you maybe have not seen the film, and even if you did see the film, you may have not thought it was all that good, but now at least you know who directed that film.
Yeah. Like, I think, I mean, there's always, I guess, like, there's always been that air of corruption in Hollywood.
Yeah,
There's always been that slight stench. But I guess it was always, back in the day, it was about, oh, you had to know the right people for certain doors to be open. But there's a difference between having connections and having money to buy connections.
true.
Like, I think people, had connections because back, you know, decades ago,
Nepotism.
people kind of did, some people did work very hard to get to where they were and it paid off. And some people just
Yeah,
got lucky because they knew someone who knew someone. Whereas now these days, if you have money, you don't really even have to know someone. You can just get into that position straight away.
well, yes and
Which,
no. I mean, if you look at a lot of people who are like in the performing arts or recorded arts or anything like that, you will find that for not all of them, probably not even the majority of them, but for a lot of them, they will have a family member who's also in the industry.
yeah,
Um, so I don't want to say nepotism all the time, but because I'm saying it as a joke more than anything, but at the same time, I'm not really joking, am I?
no, like I think that's always kind of I've always felt like it's the issue. Unless you have a family member or a close friend who's already in the industry, breaking into it is pretty hard.
Yeah.
Because if you already have that person in, you basically have a foot in the door.
Yep. You do.
Whereas now these days, you have to actually find the house that has the door, and there's no guarantee that you'll get to that house within today or within 20 days or 20 years. It's
Yeah.
a grueling industry in that sense.
Well, yeah. It's in a way it's an awful industry, but the problem is that to participate in the industry, like on the floor or in the edit room or something like that, it's just so much fun, and
Yeah,
it's something that
it is.
a lot of people, including ourselves, are really like one not hell bent upon because let's be honest, we could be doing more, but like are very
Yeah,
keen on like pursuing a career in. Maybe not Hollywood specifically, maybe not Pinewood specifically, maybe not any wood specifically, but like, just to make the films and like spreading them around so people can kind of like enjoy the things that we put out there.
Yeah.
That's a feeling that I think a lot of people can agree on is a wonderful feeling to chase down.
Hmm.
Um, and unfortunately, we know Hollywood as the like in some cases enabler to get this done. How
Yeah.
to get enabled is a different question when you think about all those people who have been like abused on their way to the top
Yeah.
and have taken that abuse just to get to the top just so they can complain about it later, even though let's be honest, like like okay, let's be honest, we all say like you could just not do it, but I think for
Yeah.
a lot of people that's just not an option. Like a lot of people
Yeah.
will
For a lot of
genuinely
people,
prefer to go through all of that horrendous shit that people do to them just to
yes.
get into that industry and then
Yeah.
complain about it later, which I feel kind of, I don't want to say too many offensive things, but I think it almost negates your right to do so in a
Yeah,
weird
because I
way.
think that's the issue. There are people who have been abused along the way and have not made it still. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
there's, I mean, you think of all the accusations that came out against certain producers and other actors and directors and so on. Is that there were the ones that got the most traction were the famous ones. You know, the A list or even B list in certain cases that people went, wow, really? Then they were abused. Whereas then it says, oh, plenty more women come out against this person, and you think, oh, okay, so they're one of two people. They're either the the bandwagoners who are trying to get something out of this, and they know by just saying that they were assaulted that they'll get something from someone.
Yeah,
But then there's the other ones where you think these are the people that were abused, but generally, if they said something, nothing would happen because no one knew or cared about them.
it's true.
Which I think which arguably is as people like to trash on about, these horrible people like Harvey Weinstein, and I'm not trying to defend him, he's a complete
No, we're not trying to. No, we're not
monster.
doing anything. We're just analyzing the
But
situation.
yeah, it's a scary comment on news outlets and people that when they give a shit, it's when the big name actress comes out against it. For example, if Natalie Portman came out and said
Mm.
something, everyone would
I think she did.
explode. I think, yeah, she probably did actually, but regardless,
Yeah,
it would be front page news for weeks,
yeah.
and then a couple during those weeks it would say, oh, but like at the very bottom in fine print, oh, 5 more women have come out, saying they were also abused by this man, but we don't care about them because they're not famous, and I think
Yeah,
it's a pretty horrendous
yeah.
view to take.
I feel like we've now seeped back into the topic of celebrity culture in a
Yeah,
way. Um,
yeah,
because we will, I think we'll always fall back on this. It sucks because fuck we the idea that we regard celebrities as gods that need to be treated as such,
yeah,
even though gods famously have the power to not have to deal with that shit.
yeah. The whole point of being a god is you could just sit in a cloud and watch people fuck
Yeah,
around
like honestly,
and
like
occasionally fuck with them.
imagine a news article that says Minerva got raped. You think to yourself like, lol, she fucking let it happen.
Yeah,
Like if she really, I mean Minerva the goddess obviously, like if she really didn't want to get raped, she wouldn't get raped because she's a fucking goddess. Like no
yeah,
mortal's gonna, oh, it's her dad. Okay, well that's different.
yeah.
That's just,
That's very different. But there's obviously but sort of on the issue of celebrity culture, I had an interesting discussion this evening at dinner with my parents
sure.
about Meghan Markle
Okay.
and Prince Harry. And when she came out and did the whole interview with Oprah and this whole oh, cancel the royal family and everything, and then all these news outlets saying this is the worst crisis the royal family has suffered
Is
in
it is
decades.
mm,
It's not, considering what was it? Which prince? I think one of the princes,
was it
literally
Prince
last
Albert?
Prince Albert, yeah, last
Yeah.
year. Oh, he's pretty chummy with a pedophile, and everyone's like, oh, this is either a very clever tactic of the media to basically sweep the actual issue under the rug and say, oh, look at this new issue that's even bigger.
Yeah. I don't And
But
I don't even like. I don't know why do people care so much. You know what I mean?
but
Like, who
yeah,
gives a shit about? I mean,
the
okay,
royal family.
I'll be honest. I grew up in the Netherlands, and like the most I know about the royal family there is that the moment that the eldest daughter of the current king becomes 18, which I think she already is, she would earn more than I do now with
Yeah,
with all the work that I had to put into actually like get to the point where I can get that level of salary.
yeah.
I was pretty pissed off with that, but I was like, well, fuck these guys. I don't really care.
But Ron, she's 18 now. We need to go over there and get one of us needs to just marry her.
Money. No, I need to get her money. Oh,
Yes,
by the way,
exactly. We marry her.
when I say she gets the amount that I get now, I mean my year's salary she gets in a month. Yeah,
Jeez. That's
that'll buy you a nice car.
yeah, it would. But
Also
because
I don't really want to marry her because that did I don't know. I think the ages don't align very well. Um,
I mean, man, there's nothing
I
wrong
mean
with
Prince
being
Albert would be pretty proud. I'd say. Not the fact that she's marrying a commoner, because let's be honest, for Prince Harry, that's not really working out so well.
well. Here's the issue. Like I have with it is, I watched a bit of the interview and I've looked a bit more into the issue with it, and saying, oh, Meghan Markle has always struck me as, the bona fide celebrity me kind of person. It's
Yeah,
all about my issues and my struggles. And this reference to, oh, the royal family were worried about the child's skin color. I'm like, bitch, you barely black. Generally, and I know people think
barely.
of us,
Yeah,
but
it's
like
true.
she is barely black. I doubt the royal family said that, and even if they did, because my parents made a fair point of there's a difference between being politically incorrect and racist. There is a
Yes,
difference between the
there is a
two.
difference.
While it's not good and smart to be politically incorrect, and it is still wrong, it is does not mean you hate the
Yeah,
just because you're politically incorrect about black people doesn't mean you
yeah.
hate black.
When you say I don't hate black people, but that's politically incorrect, not racist.
Exactly, exactly. But
I mean, that's not true, but go on.
and then there was an issue that they were saying that she was saying, oh, they're not going to give my children royal titles, and then as it turns out, no, her son's a duke and her daughter's a baroness. But the issue
That's
is because those are titles. They're very prestigious fucking titles here in the UK. But here's the issue: she's an American, and in America, they don't know what a baron is. They don't know what a duke is. All they know is prince and princess. That's all they would care about. So she was in a huff because her children aren't a prince or princess.
well, isn't she being a fucking princess then?
Exactly. I
Well, she
think,
isn't. Because she's fucking denounced the title now, so what does it
yeah,
mean? What does it matter?
she was never even a prince. I mean, Kate, William's wife, isn't even a princess. And the only reason their children are, and as it turns out, the only reason their children are prince and princes is because they're the children of the firstborn of that line, that
Yeah,
bloodline. So therefore, they have that title. Whereas Harry and Harry's children won't get that. But
yeah,
so therefore, it was already set up that they were never going to get fucking prince or princess titles. And of course, I found it interesting. They moved to Los Angeles, because let's be honest, Prince Harry being prince here, this is the general English population's feel. Well, uh, he's a bit of a knob. Whereas in the US, it's like, oh, he's a prince. Oh, girl,
also
you
he's
did,
English.
and he's English. Like
I mean, that's
that's
the
the
winning
double there.
combo.
That's the winning combo. An English prince, like
That's
all the women, and he was in the army as well. They're gonna
I
eat that
mean,
shit up.
that's fucking juicy. It's like, when you
That's
go
the
to
trifecta.
KFC and you get like the trilogy box meal, that's what she got. And it's not because
Yeah,
she's black, it's because it's three things and KFC is really fucking good every now and then.
yeah,
And because he's
exactly.
English and people just fucking love chicken here. More than America, I'd say.
I
I
would
don't
say it depends. I think because people here in the UK love Nando's chicken a lot, whereas in the US, I think there's a bit more love for KFC than there is
Yeah,
here.
that's fair. That's
But
fair.
because they're two different styles of chicken. That's
Yeah,
the
of
thing.
course, of course. There's the
One is fried, one is cooked
yeah.
on a grill. But yeah, I just sort of found it interesting that I think Megan, she's just a whiny Because I would point out the thing is, the royal family's basically said nothing about this. That it feels like they're just
Because why would
ignoring
you?
it. Yeah, I mean, in the end, I have a lot more respect for them because they're probably looking at this going, "Oh yeah, she's whatever.
Well, I can tell you now, I don't really have any
She's the
respect
black
for.
sheep in the family." See,
I
that's them. That's them
That's
being
yeah, it's not
politically
racist, it's a joke.
incorrect.
And um, I'll be honest. Um, as far as I'm meant to say under the flag, I respect the royal family. But this is the internet, and anyone says on the internet whatever they want. So
Yeah.
I'll say I don't necessarily respect the royal family because essentially their entire life entirely consists of being famous because they had like their bloodline had power once,
Yeah.
and that is their entire status, and they are born into it. They don't have to lift a finger if they don't want to for the entirety of their lives, and they are
Yeah.
set. All they have to
Because
do is not start a war by saying some hateful shit about some other royal, which is most likely a family member as well.
yeah, at this point, because I
So
think
yeah, go on.
because the issue is the last great things the royal family ever did was during the First and Second World War, where they actually kind of still had a hand in what happened, and they
Sure.
actually had some influence. They had power to a small extent of who could be prime minister during that time, who would they support, kind of thing. Whereas now I feel like it's two things. One, they're they've just gotten lazy, and essentially, any issues that are, like going to war, like in Iraq and Afghanistan and all of that, they basically just don't care. They think, the prime minister can do it. I think that, as a royal family, you guys are getting a shit ton of money to basically lounge around. You should do a bit more other than just
Yeah.
occasionally speak for charity. You should actually have an investment in the political climate of your country. And you should probably even back certain candidates for certain positions because, you are the royal fucking family. You have.
Well, no, I think the royal family shouldn't really be politically involved in any sort of way. I mean, yes, in a way, because otherwise they're really not doing anything. But at the same time, it's like, well, by doing that, you have an aristocratic monarchy in a
Yeah,
perceived democracy. So
yeah,
what are you gonna do? Take the power out of the people's hands? Like you can't really do that. So
yeah,
basically you have to choose, or you're a monarchy or you're a democracy. But a constitutional monarchy basically just means the people have the power and the royal family does fuck all. Except
yeah.
for well, in the Netherlands,
I mean,
basically there's a law that this dictates that when the parliament makes a law, once a year the king gets to veto it. Once a year. So he gets like one law per year that he gets to veto. And I don't think he's in the what will it be like 6 or 7 years that he's reigned so far. Not
mm,
once did he exercise this right.
mm,
Because he's just fucking like whatever.
yeah, I think that's the thing is that it has become a very redundant thing where, as I've said, a few centuries ago, the royal families did stuff. They were
Yeah.
very proactive, and they had empires of which they were the kings and queens of. They ruled entire empires. Whereas now it's kind of like, well, we don't have our empire, so we don't really care anymore. I think that's just lazy, and like
Negligent.
I generally, it's not that I respect them or don't respect them. It's more I just sort of think, they're there. Frankly, the only thing they're doing is just sitting around on a shit ton of money, not really doing anything with it as well.
Yeah.
You know, and I think because the issue I have as well when Meghan and Harry got married is they said, "Oh, he married a commoner." No, he married a millionaire celebrity. That's not a fucking commoner. That's the new
I still
royal.
don't really know what she's done.
She's the new version of royal family in Los Angeles, essentially, for all intents and
Genuinely,
purposes.
not once have I seen her on screen. And that includes the interviews.
uh, movies and television. Let's take a look.
Let's have a
She
look.
was the only thing that she was in that was of any real note was Suits, apparently, and
So she's
Horrible
not
Boss.
even so she's a celebrity who isn't even famous.
Yeah,
So, who the fuck is she? Like, what do you have in life to complain about when
Yeah.
you're blasted into fame because you happen to be dating someone of a very, very famous stature, and now you're being pissy about everything? That's not even
I'm pretty
first
sure
world problems. That's half world problems, if not quarter, if such a thing even fucking exists.
it's zero world problems.
It's zero world problems. You're not even of this world. You're a fucking alien, not because you're black, but
Like,
because you have
I've got to
very
be
unreal
honest.
problems.
I've got to be honest. Part of me just can't help but think she married Prince Harry just simply because then she could say she married an English prince.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it was for that superficial reason. She doesn't actually love the guy. There's an actual emphasis that she essentially in America achieved the highest status possible, marrying a royal. She did what every American girl's dream would have been: marry a prince of a foreign country and be whisked away. And that's the thing. She was then whisked away to this country to be a royal, and then discovered as royals there's certain things she can and cannot do. I'm like, wow, really? Kind of like the president and how he was elected, and Donald Trump discovered there were certain things he can and cannot do. Who would have thought being in a position of political power would have, or power in this case, would have come with rules and restrictions?
But yeah,
Uh,
that's the thing that people don't probably know, but don't think about.
yeah, because apparently one of the parts in the interview is like, oh, apparently my family had to curtsy for the queen. I'm thinking, yeah, because she's your elder. You kind of have to
She's
respect her.
literally the queen.
She's literally the ruler of several individual nations: England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, the Falkland Islands, Australia, New
Well,
Zealand.
do you know what? This is actually a point that's worth mentioning. The Queen of England, which I think constitutes also as the queen of literally any other nation of the kingdom.
Yeah,
So she's the
she's
Queen
the
of
queen of
Wales,
Great Britain.
Scotland, and Northern Ireland as well, isn't she?
Yeah,
And then also the Queen of the. Is she the Queen of the Commonwealth as well? I'm not even sure at this point. I know in New
let's
Zealand she's regarded as the de facto ruler of New Zealand, as she
yeah.
would be in the UK. I don't know if it's you know better than I do if it's the case in the Australias or just the one. Um,
Uh,
don't know why I said multiple. In any case, she is also the queen or the king, if applicable, is de facto the highest rank in the army.
yeah,
And
because she has the right to declare war on any nation she so chooses.
that, but also she has the right to declare knighthood upon people.
Yeah,
She literally has knights,
yeah.
right? This is how fucking archaic this whole thing is, but still, and she does that every now and then for a reason. I don't even know why people get knighted still, and you can apparently get knighted for practically any reason at this point. You know, you can get knighted because you are an actor in a bunch of films.
I think it's you have to have achieved. I think there's certain benchmarks and rules. I don't think it's just you do anything. I think that not benchmarks or rules. I think they're just certain accomplishments you have to have achieved. Like you have to have achieved the absolute peak of your perfection essentially. So what there's Sir Ian McKellen,
Sure,
and let's face it, in terms of acting, he's one of the greatest there is of
he
all
is one of the
time.
finest. Yeah,
And David Beckham's not been knighted, to be fair.
that's true.
Neither's Gordon Ramsay. But yeah,
Well, that is true.
I think that's just it. I think there are certain positions and roles. So sort of okay. So she's the Queen of England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, and numerous other realms and territories
Realms.
as head of the Commonwealth, the group of 53 sovereign nations that include many former British territories, extremely popular for nearly all of her reign. The Queen is known for taking a serious interest in government and political affairs. But yeah, I think basically she is regarded as the queen
Yeah,
of 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 the Commonwealth. So it's now no longer the Empire; it's the Commonwealth, which she's regarded as the queen. I don't think that means she has power over those other nations, but she has a respectful position, as it would be. But respectful in quotation marks.
yeah, of course,
Yeah, I'm probably going to get a knock on the door from British Secret Service, MI6, saying, "Can't be talking about the Queen this way."
potentially.
At which point I'll come out and say, "But I'm an American. I don't have to give a shit. Can we see your passport?" No, because I'm American and I choose not to show you my password. I have rights, damn it. I have rights, damn it. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. What are you sending me?
So I'm not sending you anything. I'm just looking at actors who have been declared knights, or not even actors. You know Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees?
Oh, yeah.
Sir
Him?
Barry Gibb.
It's amazing.
So, you know.
Oh,
I mean, to be fair, their music is pretty fucking good. Like, you
I
can't.
think once again, it's that not just that anyone has to be knighted. I think you have to have achieved a level of fame and respect in your position of profession. So, for example,
Kenneth
if you're
Branagh. Sir
Kenneth
Michael
Branagh,
Caine, obviously. Kenneth Branagh,
yeah,
yeah.
okay,
Michael Caine, obviously.
yeah,
Sean Connery, why not?
yeah,
Daniel Day-Lewis, of course. Douglas Fairbanks Jr. I think he was a cinematographer.
okay.
No, wait. I'm thinking of someone else. He's a film producer, but I don't know what else he's done. Oof. There's a lot of people here.
Yeah.
Ian Holm, of course, the guy who played Bilbo Baggins in the original Lord of the Rings films.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Bob Hope, John Hurt, Anthony Hopkins, Ben Kingsley, Christopher Lee. To be fair, Christopher Lee, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a legendary man in his late years. He was an excellent actor. He apparently made a death metal album. Yeah, yeah, and he was the lead singer as well.
Would not have seen that coming.
I think he made it about 20 or 30 years ago.
Okay.
This is like his late years. So if anyone deserves it, he does. Roger Moore, Ben
Of
Kingsley.
course.
I said Ian McKellen, of course. Michael Palin. Sure.
Is Pierce Brosnan on the list?
No.
Okay. I was about to ask, like, can you just be any Bond and then just get automatic?
Kevin Spacey.
Really? Wait, he's not English though, is he?
You don't have to be English.
That is okay. How strange. I assume he's had his knight. Well, actually, can you revoke a knighthood? I guess you can.
Yeah, you can. But she clearly didn't.
But sure, she's probably forgotten about him.
She probably forgot, yeah.
Hey, we're not surprised. God, actually, how old is she now? Sorry, just as randomly. She's got to be getting on now.
90 something. Like 98.
Yeah. Look up Queen Elizabeth II. She is 94.
94. Well,
Same age
close
as my
enough.
grandmother. She is getting on. How old is Prince Philip? Prince Philip is super old, isn't he?
They're all fucking old at this point. They're just waiting for it to kind of,
Because does it? For some reason, I can't find his age. He was born in 1921. So what? Nearly 100 years.
Yeah.
Born Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
That's how it goes. Dude, this whole thing is like a weird incestuous. Oh, do you
That
know what?
yeah.
I actually found something very funny the other day. Have
Mhm.
you ever heard of the country called Andorra?
Yep.
Okay. Do you know who the Prince of Andorra is, or one of them anyway? There's two. One of them is whoever is the bishop of like some Italian kind of or Spanish, Catalan settlement. So if you are
Mhm.
the bishop of that settlement, you are the Prince of Andorra. But there's a second one, which is the president of France. If you are the president of France, you are the Prince of Andorra.
Because that's the thing. It's not the position that makes you the prince. It's the bloodline.
Not in this case.
Really?
Constitutional monarchies, baby, they can be a fucking wild ride.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Wow. That doesn't even make sense to me
It really
anymore.
doesn't.
It's always been usually about the bloodline. As it turns out, no, you can just be some fuck. I'm pretty sure at this point, considering the royal families from centuries ago and how many people they fucking porked, I'm pretty sure we're all royals at this point. Let's be honest.
Probably
Hence,
so.
probably why, in fact, now you have to have the constitutional monarchies. Otherwise, it gets very fucking messy in terms of the
Yeah.
lines of succession.
Well, technically, if most people in the country are like from royal descent, I'm still not. I'm still from fucking the East.
Hey,
Or
Eastern countries had their own royal families.
yes, but
They just
predominantly poor people though.
Yeah, and they all got executed at some point because they all held the money, and the poor people were not happy with it, and then communism rose up. Or is that just Russia specifically? Maybe just Russia specifically.
It's mainly Russia, yeah. Which is funny because the poor people were still poor, so it didn't make any sort of
It
difference.
didn't solve any issues similar to fucking the United States. We don't like paying taxes to rich people from other nations. Gets elected. We don't like paying taxes to wait. What are we doing? We're fighting for rich people in other nations like China. So it's still the same issue. Yep, yep. We're just not ruled by them anymore.
Of course.
We don't like paying taxes to these people. Well, you're still paying taxes anyway through just a different group of people.
Yeah.
But
What
they're in
if you were
charge of us.
paying taxes to them, but you didn't know that you were paying them?
But then I love the argument that a lot of Americans have. It's like, yes, but they didn't rule. They weren't in charge of our country. We're paying taxes to the United States government. Yeah, you were paying taxes to the British government that ruled your country. It's still the same thing. Both of them rule your country. Just the headquarters, as it were, has a different location.
Also, look what came of it. Are you really happy with
Are you
this?
sure it turned out brilliantly? Yeah, we're a world superpower. But what was it? What was it Gamora said to Thanos? And this is actually very, very weirdly quite. So what we're basically Great Britain as Gamora and the US as Thanos, and we're just going, was it worth it?
Yeah. What
Oh
did it
god.
cost?
What did it cost? Everything.
Everything.
Everything. That actually feels
All the
weirdly.
dollars.
Well, it cost us everything. It cost us freedom. Oh god. I also like in the national anthem they had the land of the free, and they were the last country to get rid of slavery, or the last big nation to get rid of slavery. The land of the free.
Not so. No,
Was
not really.
it though?
You
Doesn't really
are
seem like it
free
was.
to enslave people.
Land of the free white people. Ah, see, that would be better.
That's better.
But yeah. God though. But anyway, I think we've rambled and ranted
We
enough
have gone
about
too
all the.
political again. Let's talk about something less political to cap it off. What do you think of
Um,
WandaVision?
I fucking loved it.
Yeah, I agree.
Loved it. And I'm very much getting the sense they may do a second season now, after how it ended.
Um, yes and no. I think if they do a second season, it has to be before Doctor Strange comes out.
That's yeah. I mean, it's possible, and you never know. They may just get it out in time.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah.
super good. Looking forward to Falcon
Yeah.
Winter Soldier now.
I will say for me, it's still like a 9 out of 10 because I did like it all the way through. There's just a bunch of things at the end that I feel like kind of went unresolved and kind of left me a little bit like, dissatisfied. Like,
Okay.
basically, first of all, Monica Rambeau, right?
Yeah.
Now that she's outside of the Hex, does she still have her superpowers? Kind of want to know. Second, Quicksilver, where's he gone? Is he still around, or is he like back in his own universe?
Name again?
Hmm?
Because no, it turned out he wasn't from that universe. He was just some random guy in that town, right?
No, he was from he was from a different universe. He wasn't a random guy in the town. He was from a different universe altogether.
You sure? Because I'm pretty sure there was that whole sequence where Monica, found his actual ID, and there was the fucking gag in it, where it was whatever boner, and he was like, huh, boner.
Yes, because he used a fake name.
Or was it his real
Who
name?
in the world is called Boner? That's not a real name. Not even the fucking Marvel universe.
Throwaway jokes they throw in some of these Marvel films. It wouldn't
All right,
surprise me.
let's solve this right now. Well, fucking don't read. Okay, so
Because like that's the thing. Like they never confirmed like
Quicksilver, Boner. Maybe I should turn on private browsing.
maybe.
Boner joke.
There we go. That's probably a better way to look it up.
Um. Can I not just? So when he first arrives, Peters ends up being an entirely different character, namely Agnes' mysterious husband Ralph, whose last name is Boner, which sounds exactly like you think it does. Problem is, the Ralph Boner moment is the last we see Peters in the finale. He literally lost his own last name just to drive home to the Boner joke, and that's the end of the story. Obviously, that wasn't the explanation Marvel fans were looking for after weeks. They've been trying.
Like yeah, because
Right.
that to me is like it's open ended. Like it doesn't confirm he's from another multiverse, and it also doesn't like because that's the thing. I'll be honest. Agatha didn't. She seemed powerful, but she didn't seem powerful enough to cross entirely different multiverses. But to be fair, I could be wrong.
I would really hate, like, I will drive down that rating from a 9 out of 10 to like a 7 out of 10 if this is true.
Just for that alone. Wow.
It
Okay.
was a huge plot point for me that Quicksilver was in there. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of biased because I had my own like
Fan
interpretation of
theory.
what he was, and obviously
Yeah.
if like that getting shut down is obviously a bit hurtful, but this is actually bad if this is the case.
Like,
Because
I
it
wouldn't
wouldn't
be.
be the first time they did this.
I think that's the thing. Is like I would say personally for me, like, well, I think it's a stupid throwaway joke, and I think, okay, you had a chance to really do something with it there, but at the same time, I would have the mindset of thinking, but in the end, he'll probably come back in some other way through one of the other films, whether it's Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness or the Eternals, which is another theory that it may come through there. So in the end, I think, okay, I would go down from, let's say, as I gave it like a 10 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10 because I still think it's still brilliant. Yes, the throwaway joke is bad, but to be fair, there have been throwaway jokes in a lot of other Marvel films that I thought don't really need it, but it's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I guess
It
I have
feels like the
that.
Mandarin thing all over again. You know what I mean?
That to me feels a bit harsh because the Mandarin was set up to be the villain of the film, whereas this was set up to be a
Yeah, and then
plot
he
point.
wasn't in it. That's my fucking point. And then they retconned it so that he was the fucking Mandarin all along.
When did they retcon that?
Have you seen the short film Hail to the King?
No.
Where it's like Ben Kingsley in prison.
Okay, and
They
what as it
retconned
turns
it.
out,
Like he doesn't have superpowers or anything, but he's like the mastermind behind it all.
okay, of course they retconned it. Well, it won't matter. He won't show up again. I think
You might do.
he might do, but I feel like at this point he probably won't. But like that's the thing. I think the show entirely as a whole was good enough, and it did a lot of other things that I wasn't expecting that I thought was good enough. That while yes, the whole Pietrov not actually being, or Peter in this case, not being back in the universe as this guy from another universe would be bad, but at the same time, I think that's not as bad as the Mandarin. Doesn't feel that way to me at the very least.
I don't know. It's arguably slightly worse because it came with a promise, and it's like, hey, this really cool thing. Yeah, fuck you.
Like you can saying that, but at the same time, I feel they're still going to introduce the X-Men one way or another into the universe. So while it could be one of those things where it's the misdirection, like, oh, was it Wanda? No, it will be the Doctor Strange movie, or no, it will be the Eternals. Like, it's basically just a magic trick for all intents and purposes.
Sure, but
It
then
doesn't.
answer me this: if he's just a random person, how come he has superpowers?
I mean, Wanda warped reality. Agatha warped reality. One of them probably gave him his powers. I doubt he's like, if he still has them, he still has them. Because that's the thing. The show ended without explaining if some of the people there started developing powers or not. So we can make assumptions all we want, but until there's either a second series or explains it in the Doctor Strange movie, can't be certain.
I
Because,
guess.
like, I mean,
Anyway,
that's the
I'd
thing. Like,
I'd be disappointed. That's all I can say.
I mean, here's the thing to bear in mind. Actually, no. Here's the thing. In the Hex, Wanda had two kids with powers. The Hex went away. Their powers went away because they went away.
Yeah.
You could argue because the Hex disappeared, the powers that um
Yes,
uh
but Wanda gave her the powers. Okay, gave them the powers. Like
yeah,
Agatha is strong, but even with all her power, I still think it, like from a magic point of view, it will take less effort to put like a mind control bead thing on a person that you plucked from another universe than it is to mind control a civilian and then give them these superpowers.
because
That sounds like a concentration spell to me.
D&D logic
Yeah.
there. Uh, yes and no, because here's the thing. While I would argue it's not easier going to another universe, because how many people within the Marvel universe have we seen do that so far?
No, it's not going to another universe. It's literally just go like, get me this person here, and because that person isn't available in the current universe because he's dead, it's just plucked from the nearest available universe,
So wait,
which
you're
just
saying
happens to be the
Agatha,
X-Men.
Agatha plucked him from his universe?
Yep.
That's like, okay, fine. She didn't go to his universe, but then it's like, well, then how did he get him there? She still had to have some connection to get him from universe A to universe B, which is like looking at across of all things, DC, Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the CW universe, all these sorts of things. Traveling between the multiverse is still not easy, and not a lot of people can do it without help. So
You say that, but in Doctor Strange, it is confirmed that pretty much all magic that is used is essentially just harnessed energy from another universe. That is
mm,
all it is. And Doctor Strange, okay, maybe not him, but like let's say the Ancient One extracted all of her universe from the dark plane, right?
yeah,
So technically, she is taking something out of another universe. It's not
yeah,
necessarily like it's not about like being able to do it. It's just the difficulty of it and like how much you can
yeah.
do with the amount of power that you have. I think with all the
Because
years that Agatha Harkness has been around, since like the like Boston lynchings and stuff like that, she fucking survived.
yeah,
She may have easily just learned how to like teleport
that's
someone. And like I said, maybe it's just the kind of case where it's like she was able to get him from another universe because she needed him like specifically that person, not specifically from that universe. It just happened to be that way.
the the issue is then I would have with that is it's very contrived because she then brought Quicksilver from a universe, and instead of mind controlling him to make him think he was always from this universe,
Which he did.
she then said, "Oh no, you're from this town, but then you're Quicksilver from this universe. Now you're from this universe, but you're this random guy from this town. Now you're Quicksilver again from this universe." It's like,
When when
why
when was it the
bother
implication that he's the random person from this town?
the fucking ID and things? Like, there was clearly some sort of connection there. There's clearly something that ties him to here for whatever reason. Well, here or there, but
I still think the ID is a joke. I think it's a fake ID card because let's be honest, everything that we've learned about him from the X-Men movies is that he's a delicant.
true,
A fun-loving delicant who will go great lengths for pulling pranks and shit. Is very
true.
helpful when it comes down to it, but he is a prankster. You know, good old
Like,
Peter Maximov who fucking plays ping pong by himself against himself.
yeah.
Who probably is still a teenager.
But then there's the issue of why did he think he was that person once the hex was broken?
What do you mean?
Well, once, fucking Rambo snapped him out of it, he was like, "Oh, please don't hurt me. Sorry, and whatever." And it's like he thought he was that guy, or at least there's that inkling. If you woke up in a different universe, you might
Be
first
what
think he's
guy?
like, "What do you mean?" Sorry?
You say he thought he was that guy. Be what guy?
Yeah, from the ID. So when Monica Rambeau snapped him out of his hex, he went, "Please don't hurt me," because there was a strange woman there. If you're a fucking speedster, the first thing you would think of, "Who the fuck are you? Where the fuck am I? What is this place?"
Not necessarily. Depends how freaked out he was.
He's an X-Men.
He's a
He's some
kid.
pretty weird
He's a
shit.
yeah, nothing like this though.
Fought Apocalypse from a really shit film, to be fair, but he fought
Apocalypse is a
Apocalypse,
very different type of being.
who threatened to destroy or turn the world into complete destruction. Like,
Yeah, but
yes,
when he
weird
faced Apocalypse,
scenario.
he faced him with a team of people that he knew were better at this because they were way more experienced. He could still be freaked out by by the whole scenario.
Yeah, but I don't think he would then freak out into a position to pretend he was an entirely different person.
I don't think he
He
was
might
pretending to be a
run away.
different person. I think he was just genuinely scared.
It feels then very, because like from all the films I've seen, there are very few moments where he seems scared.
Okay, but it
It,
happens.
it happens, true, but I don't know. That just feels like an excuse to try and latch on that it's still him. Like it's still Quicksilver. Because I see that moment, I think that's not Quicksilver. That doesn't feel like Quicksilver when I saw that moment.
So it did for me.
Didn't for me.
Because it was a funny scene, and all I know him for is like the funny scenes and like moments of heart, like gut wrenching kind of situations. I don't know. I'd be very disappointed if it's just like a throwaway thing where it's like, oh yeah, no, it's not actually Quicksilver. It's just like a guy who lives there.
I think there's fair disappointment, but I think the disappointment is very harsh considering how good the rest of the show is and how much they do well. I can understand that people find it annoying and frustrating, but I think making a show entirely bent on that feels
Be
a bit extreme when the core of the show is not about bringing the X-Men into this universe.
it isn't.
It's about Wanda dealing with her grief in a very unhealthy manner. This just happens to be a little side plot that could be really cool if it works this way, or it could just be whatever it is.
I agree with that, but still, it's like, how would I compare this? Because I love my comparisons. Um, especially because it's the last episode. It's kind of like if you were to like, I don't know. It's like eating something that you're really enjoying, and there's like the spice in there that you're actually also very enjoying. But then this particular spice, like even though you enjoyed the meal, this particular spice is like a weird aftertaste. And even though the meal itself was really good, the aftertaste is all you can focus on because it's like, well, that's the last thing you tasted from the entire thing. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like to me. It's basically like the entire show is good, but by putting a throwaway situation in there like that, I think messes with the situation a little bit for me. Because if like basically he wasn't Quicksilver, so basically he wasn't Quicksilver. He was just a random guy that was made to believe that he is Quicksilver. So all of the interactions that he had with Wanda didn't actually happen. Weren't any good at all. So at that point it's like, well, so it didn't fucking matter. He didn't really have to be in this at all. Like you're just
No,
gonna open a strand like that and close it shut by saying, "Nah, well, that's
I
not a real
think
thing."
there's a difference between saying, "Oh, he didn't need to be in there if it's just a throwaway joke." He did, because once again, it delved into Wanda's grief. He was there as a mechanic to fuck with Wanda, not as a mechanic to bring the X-Men into the fold. The show is, once again, going
No,
back to it, it
I'm
is.
not debating that he is there to bring the X-Men into the world. Like that's an eventuality that would follow,
Yeah.
which is fine because that's, to be fair, that's the most of these films have had this kind of, well, this is a TV show, so it should be even more so. But most of the films have always had a thing where it's like, there's like an intertwined story, and then there's like the main strand that kind of goes forward to the next film, but just like side strands that kind
Yeah.
of go towards the next couple of things. So in
Yeah.
this, for me, when I thought that was actually Quicksilver, which I'd rather still believe, to be absolutely honest with you, until I see like evidence to the contrary,
Yeah.
because I'm not necessarily taking this.
Yeah.
But basically, the strands that I'm seeing is the main one. Scarlet Witch is now developing her powers and seeing if she can like make people real without the use of a hex or something like that, or whatever she's chasing after, or like finding out who she
Or
is
now
and what her
she's
power
trying to
levels are.
the idea of going into the other universes to grab those people herself.
Potentially, yeah.
Is it?
And then there's these side strands, like, Real Vision is out there somewhere, probably
Yeah.
trying to find his identity back. Quicksilver is out there, lost and confused and trying to make sense of the world. Um, uh, t- Monica
Monica Rambeau.
Rambeau is out there somewhere,
Working
being
with
recruited
Skrull.
for fucking Shield or something.
Yeah.
Um, well, yeah, you say scrolls, but at the same time, at first when she was asked to come with the person, I was like, oh, this is a Nick Fury moment, isn't it? Then they turned into a scroll, and I was like, oh, wait, Nick Fury is a scroll, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
It
Nick Fury's
doesn't
also
mean it's true, but like it's probably true,
Nick
but
Fury's
probably
also
not.
with the Skrulls currently as well on board a spaceship. So
Yeah, exactly. And she pointed into the sky, so
yeah,
I guess.
because
And
like
also, her mom was the best friend of one of the closest friends of Nick Fury. If I'm
yeah,
meant to believe that film, even though fucking whatever. But
but it's more the argument I was making for like a Quicksilver not being Quicksilver. It's basically me trying to dampen your hopes slightly, so that way if they are broken,
well,
it
don't
isn't.
destroy them.
I'm not trying to destroy. I'm
Dampen is
saying
one thing. Destroy them is
if
something else.
if it is true, just make sure you've braced yourself. Is all I'm saying. That's all I was trying to really
Yeah,
get at.
and
Maybe
I'm
not.
and I'm saying that if it is true, I'm gonna be very disappointed because it's a bit shit in my opinion.
Okay.
I just
I
I
think
just
Lord Ragnarok's a bit shit, but
hey, you
no, that's
change
not.
your opinion. Um,
I did
anyway,
opinion. But
what
you'll
I'm
see, maybe
yeah
one day you'll change your opinion on this about this as well.
no, what I'm trying to get at,
People call me stubborn. All right, you know what? Fuck it.
what I'm trying to get at is okay, be like that. What I'm
Hey,
trying to get
change
at
your on.
What I'm trying to get at is I want to keep those strands open. I wanna leave options for the future. Like, for instance, I don't really care if Vision never comes back. I don't really care if we don't ever see Monica Rambeau in any of these films ever again. And to be honest, if we don't see Quicksilver ever again in any of these films, not even mentioned until the inevitable and eventual X-Men and Avengers merge does happen, I wouldn't be upset about it. I just want to be able to believe that that is going on. And if they do come back into films, great. More canon, something to enjoy.
Yeah.
But I don't really want people to outright say like, well, his name is actually Ralph Boner, and he lived in Westville for all of his life.
Hmm.
It just kind of shuts things down in a way that is really dissatisfying.
Pop theory then. Pop theory. Pop
Okay.
theory. Because I think with the book Agatha had, she was clearly able to have some form of connection to the multiverse. Because I think she somewhat referenced it. Can't
Yes,
remember
he did.
exactly. But here's a pop theory then. She then tried to find Pietrov. He's dead. Can't bring him back. Can't go for his body. Whatever. She then thinks, okay, maybe I'm not strong enough to bring a Quicksilver over, but perhaps I can find his physical doppelganger and transfer the powers into him. So this guy really is Ralph Boner, but she actually found the physical doppelganger to the Quicksilver in another universe. So they looked alike, and maybe there's some reason the magic was able to make him Quicksilver a little easier. That's a very out there
Yeah,
theory, which is 100% not true. But
I don't think that would be satisfying in any way, to be honest with you. Because basically, what that would mean is that then she's temporarily transferred these powers from someone who looks like this person into this person to impersonate this person until that necklace breaks, and then what, the powers are suddenly gone?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. I
Maybe
don't
the
know if
powers aren't gone. That's the thing. I'm more willing to believe that that could be Ralph Boner, who's just woken up and all of a sudden he now has super speed. He's just completely fucking freaking out. He's like, "What the fuck do I do?" Which, to be fair, I would actually still. While you would find that disappointing, I'd find that fucking amusing because you're just some random guy who woke up one day with super speed and you're just going
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, who's
But
uncannily similar looking to this one person from a completely different franchise.
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I
the
don't know.
other.
It's too much of a coincidence, I think.
Uh, Well, I think that's the thing because I'm always willing to just say, there is such a thing as recasting. Because if this is the case, then fucking what's his name, Vulture is Batman, and then some Advocate brought him over and turned Michael Keaton's Batman into the Vulture for whatever reason, just to fuck with Spider-Man. I mean, that's completely different because that's DC. Oh,
Yeah.
what if Chris Evans, he really is the Human Torch?
I mean, to be fair, the Human Torch has been recast since.
That's very true as well. But Killmonger because he was like a feature. See, this is the
I
problem when
mean,
you have. This is the issue why I thought recasting is an
well,
issue because
technically,
I
that's when you get Crisis on Infinite Earths, and you have Brandon Routh, who is Superman, but also Ray
yeah.
Palmer,
There you go.
which
Yeah,
is
that's
weird
very
but amusing. Literally
yeah.
one of the few amusing things in that entire episode until Superman just fucking disappeared because we want more John Cryer.
Who doesn't want more John Cryer? Everyone.
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen doesn't want anything except drugs and people to love
Hard
him.
cocaine.
Yeah. But yeah, like
Soft cocaine will do
it'll
as
be
well,
so
I've been
great
told.
though. That is true. And basically, they're doing a Crisis on Infinite Earths in Marvel, and then I can just go to the cinema and just shout out, "You're copying DC! You see, Marvel fans, this is why Marvel sucks!" And everyone's like, "What do you mean?" It's like, I'm just fucking kidding with you. They copy each other all the fucking time. Get
Yeah, of
over it.
course.
Marvel didn't do anything first. Neither did DC. So wait, then who did it first? No one knows. It's the great mystery.
I mean,
Who made
technically DC, but it doesn't matter.
technically DC? Yeah, technically DC.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. No, that's the point. Yeah, I don't know. I I guess the thing is, like, I enjoyed WandaVision, but I think that's the thing. I'm not putting too much into it simply because I think, I think weirdly it's the Marvel fatigue where I will enjoy Marvel, but I'm not as invested into certain elements of it as probably.
Yeah, no, I didn't until I started watching this show. Because I'll be
Yeah,
honest, for a lot of things, like when it was Marvel related and like a trailer comes out for anything, and people are like, "Oh my god, there's like a billion Easter eggs in this one frame," and I'm like, "Don't fucking care."
yeah.
Genuinely, I'll wait until the film comes out because genuinely, first of all of those trailers are manipulated in post,
Oh yeah,
so most stuff that happens in the trailers won't come up
doesn't
in the
happen.
film,
No, not
and if it
even.
does, in a very different way.
Yeah,
Um, and
Hulk was
um,
never in Wakanda. Well,
yeah.
he was, but not as Hulk. He was just Bruce Banner.
Well, there you
But
go.
I think the other thing is like it's interesting though because there's um weirdly, if Quicksilver turns out to be Ralph Boner, this is a reverse of the Mandalorian when Luke showed up at the end.
What do you
Kind of
mean?
in a weird way. Like, because there's this one guy everyone's expecting to have a big reveal about. Like, who's the Jedi coming to the Mandalorian? And is Quicksilver actually Quicksilver
Yeah.
throughout part of the series? And then at the very end, turns out, okay, this guy might just be Ralph Boner. And then at the very end, yes, it is Luke Skywalker.
What? Quicksilver is Luke Skywalker?
No, in the Mandalorian.
Yeah, of course.
But like, I think that's me just interesting. And I think it's just weird now that the thing that's kind of revived both Star Wars and the Marvel love to Disney Plus streaming series,
Yeah.
and not even the fucking films.
Well, yeah, because the films are a bit, whatever. Here's the
They're
thing:
overdone.
they're
Like
whatever about the films because first of all, the Star Wars films currently aren't very good.
yeah, and I think another thing to do with at least Marvel. Marvel films are very formulaic. They're very predictable in that sense. You kind of know how it will start, how the
Not
middle will go, and
always.
not always, but to an extent, you kind
Most
of
of
know
them.
how
Most of them.
with most of them, if not, let's say 90% of them.
Mm.
Whereas the shows both had to take on very different formulas because they couldn't copy that formula anymore.
Well,
They had
yeah.
to,
I mean, with Star Wars, it was mainly kind of predictable because it does follow a
yeah,
certain structure of a story.
yeah.
Um,
WandaVision structure is just basically whatever the structure is of that century or that decade.
yeah, in that particular show that they're mimicking in that
Yeah,
particular episode. Um,
yeah,
but um, with the Marvel films as well, I think they're doing everything right now to the point where I just don't like. They're spacing them out for no reason. Like,
yeah,
think about Wonder Woman, came out in cinemas, but also on HBO Max, so that
yeah,
people who won't be or aren't able to see it in cinemas because they're closed can just watch them on the HBO Max.
yeah,
With stuff like Black Widow, they could have done the exact same fucking thing where they were like, hey, see it in cinemas, but if cinemas are closed, just watch it on Disney Plus. And they refuse to do that because they're like, money.
yeah.
And that's the case for every. So now basically, it's been if
I mean, well,
if
it's
Black
just
Widow gets delayed again, and by July we don't have a Marvel film, it will have been 2 years since a Marvel film came out.
yeah. I think it's weird because Disney are putting films on Disney Plus, but weirdly they're the films no one really cares about, like Mulan and Raya the Last Dragon or whatever it is.
Yeah, I haven't watched either of them.
I might watch the Raya films because it actually does look relatively interesting.
I mean,
But
I like Disney animations usually, so
yeah, that's the only reason I'm actually somewhat interested in it. But I think, yeah, I don't know. Disney's just sort of, I think they're in that weird stage where they're still in denial that Black Widow will make them a shit ton of money, which it probably will now. But
not really. I
Black Widow,
think Black Widow I think is the film that they have missed several boats with.
they have, but at the same time, I think there's been a 2 year dry period with no Marvel movie, and people will flock to the first Marvel movie that comes out,
I don't think
even
that's
if it's just
true.
Black Widow.
I don't think that's true. I think things have changed since a year drastically. I'll be honest personally, and I don't mean to like offend your type of work.
Yeah, there we go.
But since like for most part with COVID and everything, I'm thinking about like what once cinemas open again, and I feel very reluctant to actually go to cinemas at this point. Maybe because I'm so not used to it anymore. But it's just the
Yeah,
kind of idea of like, going to the cinema is now so foreign to me somehow.
that's a real tragedy, though, in the end.
It
I mean,
is. It is. But like when I didn't think about like wanting to see Black Widow, so this is the thing. They missed several boats. The first one is that it should have been released during phase two.
yeah,
And then it would have been kind of good because people wanted to see her more and I don't know what.
yeah,
Um but they made the film way too late. So the hype is kind of not really there. But then it started
yeah,
building up again because the trailers came out and it was like, oh, Black Widow versus Taskmaster. That's fucking cool. Okay, let's do
yeah,
that. Um, and then they didn't release it last year. They were like, nope, it's not going to Disney Plus. Fuck you guys. It's we're gonna have to wait a year. And people just kind of, I don't know. I think people just get kind of tired of waiting. Meanwhile we've had so many other films. I mean, I say that not so many other films, but we had other
no,
films that really
we've not had that many films. And at one point, we've not had that many good films. Like Tenet was okay. Wonder Woman
haven't
84
seen
was
Tenet to be honest. Wonder Woman
Tenet's
84
okay.
was okay.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They're okay. We haven't had a real high quality show stealer film, and I'm not saying Black Widow will beat that, but I think that's the thing. Is like people saying, "Oh, all these other ones are doing it. Why isn't Disney doing it?" I was like, yeah, but all the other ones that they have put out there aren't good or okay at best. And the films that Disney has put out there, like Mulan, are in the same boat where it's like, oh, they kind of already knew it wasn't going to be a success story. I think that's the thing. I feel like the reason why Disney put Mulan out on Disney Plus is because they looked at it and went, nah, no one's going to want to see this.
What
Everyone's
about
going to hate it.
Soul?
Soul,
Golden Globe winner Soul.
that's true. But at the same time, I feel like I think Disney takes a very different approach to live action Marvel versus everything else.
Yeah, but that's unfair though.
It
When you
is
really
unfair.
think about it, because
That's the
honestly,
mentality.
live action Marvel films, while they are these big cash cows, and I'm willing to
No,
admit that, they aren't that special.
no,
Some of them
but
are really unique, like Endgame and Infinity War,
yeah,
and even some of like this the singular ones like Civil War and Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. They're beautiful. Most of them,
yeah.
not really anything special.
Okay, here's a different situation then, because this is now to beg the question of whether or not this is more the Black Widow mentality or if it's something else. Let's swap Black Widow around. Let's say this was Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Would you have wanted them to release it to Disney Plus, or would you rather have seen that in the cinema first?
Oh, Disney Plus.
Really?
This is my logic, right? The average, I really hope Martin Scorsese isn't listening.
I hope
the
he is now.
The average viewer of Marvel films that really loves these films is a cinema goer, right? Is a cinema lover, I'd even go as far as to say. And if they're anything like me, then I will say this: even if it was Black Widow, but let's say for the sake of argument, if it was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 that was meant to release last year, in theaters, but then didn't, and then decided to send it to Disney Plus instead, and then release it now in theaters, I would have watched it on Disney Plus, and if I really liked it, which I'm fairly confident that I will, I would go to see it in cinemas afterwards, because I would go, I love it, but I want to up the experience now. And to confirm this, I was the one who went to see Deadpool 2 opening night in 2D IMAX. And then when they made the PG version, the I think the Christmas version of it,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
basically just the same film, but with altered scenes and like new scenes put in and some scenes taken out because they were too gruesome. I went to see it in cinemas because I thought to myself, well, I really like this film. They're doing something slightly different with it, or they're re-releasing it, or whatever. I'll go watch it. Ask yourself this: we went to see Predator and Alien last year in cinema. You'd already seen both of those films, probably at home or
Mm,
something like that. Did you really feel the need to go see it in cinema? Yeah, because it's a different experience.
yeah.
So, and with Black Widow, I'll be honest, I said this a year ago as well, maybe not on the podcast, but to someone I'm sure. If they had released Black Widow on Disney Plus, I would have watched it. And if I really liked it, even if I didn't really like it that much, once they did once they would release it in cinemas, I would go and see it. I would pay a ticket to see it. Because if it's that good, then of course I want to see it in cinemas. And again, even if it's not that good, I would still want to see it in cinema because it's a totally different experience. And I feel like with a lot of Marvel fans, there's a very similar thing. Because why else would they go see fucking Endgame 3 times
Yeah.
in cinema?
But here's the other issue, though, I would argue with this case. And going back to, let's say, either it's Black Widow or Guardians of the Galaxy, they released it on Disney Plus and you loved it and then said, I'll go and see it in the cinema when it next come out. Soul's not going to get a cinematic release.
No.
Mulan's not going to get a cinematic release.
Oh
I
no.
doubt Black Widow would get one because it would if they had released it, let's say last year, now a year on, and people are like, "Oh, you're going to release it in the cinema?" No, because we've got other films we're going to put out in the cinema.
I
Missed out.
disagree. I disagree.
I don't think they. Part of me just doesn't think
If
they would.
if they didn't do it, it would be a bad decision. Because that means that they don't know what the average Marvel goer is like. That means that they haven't listened to the people who love those films and then go on Facebook boasting that they've seen each of those films 5 times within the first month that it's come out in cinema. Because there's a
Like
lot of
that's
people out there who are like that.
they are, but at the same time, there's two things here. One, that's the first month it came out. That's very different from 12 months later, when the hype and the film has died down and your interest and
True.
investment has died down. And the thing is, going back to Predator and Alien, those are very old films. That one, yes, I had seen, that I had never seen them in a cinema at all. But I had seen Black Widow and I thought, okay, yeah, I want to see it in the cinema. But it came out like a year ago, and there are other films in the cinema I'd rather see right now, like Godzilla versus Kong or The other Marvel film that's just come out, like I'd rather see those first than Black Widow, a film I've already seen a year ago. I think there's a slight difference there.
I mean, I guess. It just
Just
depends
as
on the release pool. But then again, it's not like you're gonna go to the cinema once and just go like, well, I could choose to see Black Widow, or I could choose to see like one of the two other films that have just released. You go that week, and then maybe like at the end of the week you see the other one that you really want to see, and then the week after or something, or even 2 weeks later you go see Black Widow. If you really want to watch that film, you'll eventually get around to it. I can't speak for everyone, right? I can only speak for myself, and I'm telling you, I would do it. If they had released Black Widow a year ago on Disney Plus and would release it now in theaters, and I would have watched it, and I liked it even to a small extent, I would go see it in cinemas.
because I think on a few different sort of notes and issues, at least I would think with that mentality is one, the people who do go and see those films again, I would argue those are, and like the guys who see it like 5 times in 1 month, are very diehard fans and are very much a special case.
No,
The
really.
average, I don't think the average cinema goer would see it twice at the cinema. I
The
genuinely
average
don't.
cinema goer, no. But the average Marvel viewer in cinemas, probably.
But then that goes into the whole money issue with Disney. Is the Marvel fan base generally big enough and willing and has the cash to want to go and see it again and again and again? Can they really rely on that?
Yeah,
Solely that?
yeah. I
I
think
just don't
I
think.
think the fucking gross revenue from Infinity War and Endgame speak for itself. Yes, they can. They can
But
very much count on it.
that's Infinity War and Endgame, Black Widow, and even if it was Guardians of the Galaxy 3, same level as those two?
Probably
No,
not. No.
no, not even close.
Actually,
Just the
certainly
average
not.
cinema
Yeah.
the average Marvel fan might go and see it two more times, maybe three, pushing it, but not 4 or 5 or 6 like they did with Endgame or Infinity War.
Well, there's a simple way of finding out. For Disney, anyway.
I think the other issues as well, looking at the films they released on Disney Plus, Mulan and Soul and Raya, they're all 19.99. I think a Marvel film is going to be a little more expensive than that. I think it wouldn't surprise me if they had released Black Widow at £25. It wouldn't
Sorry,
surprise me.
what? Sorry.
It wouldn't surprise me if Marvel would release Black Widow or
No,
another
how much
Marvel
did
film.
you say those films cost?
19.99, £19 and 99 pence, so 20 quid. I think. Let me double check.
I don't think that's true. Because
I think
I've seen
Mulan.
I've seen Soul. Mulan, that's true because you've actually seen it, but I've seen Soul. Didn't cost me any more than my regular subscription.
Some of them may not have been released with the premium access, which is what it's called, but Raya definitely is. Get premium access. Let me check. Raya is 19.99 as well.
Let me check that right now.
Soul may not have been then. I'll admit that, but I can. You don't need to check it. I can see it right now. It's there on my screen for Disney Plus. It's £19.99 with the Disney Plus subscription. They will
Right.
release it normally on the 4th of June for everyone.
But at which point, no one would really care about it anymore.
Exactly. Black Widow would cost a bit more than that because it is a Marvel film, which is a cash grab. They know. So I
But
think they would be
yeah,
ballsy enough to try and push the price up to if it were like £24.99.
but
It
this
would
is
not.
why I'm saying it's dumb is because Raya the Last Dragon, right? By the time it comes out, June 4th, I won't care about it anymore. Why? Because I won't be able to watch it before then, and I'll see it's kind of around, but I won't really care by then because it's like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
With the scenario that we've like established with Black Widow in an alternate reality where they did release it last year on Disney Plus, that would be different because at least I would know what the film is like, right? And I understand that they will probably go for like the bigger price tag, but it's probably in their better interest not to do that because first of all, Disney Plus was very new last year. I think it
Yeah.
only came to the UK in March last year.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's like release a big title like that just to get people on the platform.
Yeah.
It would get them there. Second of all,
Here,
you create hype for the film again because they're like, oh, great, this film is for free with the standard subscription. Cool. Okay. Oh, okay, it's good. I wish I could see this in cinema. What? It's coming out next year in cinema. Okay, cool. Let's go
that's the
watch
thing.
it.
Once again, because it's Black Widow. If they had the price tag, let's say 99, I doubt they would allow it. Then, like after a certain time, like at the 6th of June, it would be free to watch for everyone because they do want people in cinemas, and I think they're going to try and force it into a situation. Because if it becomes free, a lot of people are just going to think, "I'll just watch it on Disney Plus." And if they have a great television or even a home cinema, they're definitely not going to the cinema in that case.
It's not the same though. It's not the
There's
same.
there's some pretty good home cinemas, even if they're just
Sure.
projected, like
Sure, but
projected in
in that case, um I mean, I'll be honest, like I did watch Wonder Woman 84 through means that weren't exactly like pure, mostly because HBO Max isn't available in the UK until you told me about that one app. And cinemas were closed by the time that I was actually able to watch it. Um but for the most part, for instance, Zack Snyder's Justice League coming out next week Thursday, yeah?
Mhm.
It's on Sky Cinema, which is in the UK,
Yeah.
right? So let's say it came out on Sky Cinema. No, let's say it didn't come out on Sky Cinema, but like, let's say it released in the cinemas, and there was like a really fucking good copy of it, like going around the internet, like a torrent, that is basically as if you're watching a DVD. What would stop anyone from just downloading that and just go like, well, I'll just watch it on my home theater?
That's fair.
There's multiple reasons. One, because you want to support the creators, which I suppose if you're subscribed to a streaming service, you're already kind of doing that.
Yeah.
But the second thing is there is genuinely something about, and I think you should agree with this more than anything. There's something about going to a cinema that cannot be recreated at home.
No, I absolutely agree. But to be fair, I'm going to backtrack and say you did say you're not feeling any reasons to go to the cinema because you feel like it's just.
No, I'll be honest. This is a temporary thing more than anything. I'm pretty sure that
I
like when
certainly
cinemas
hope
go
so.
open
Because if
and I
you're
go
never
in there.
going to the cinema again, we ain't friends. I'm just going to throw it out
Okay, well I deserve that, I guess.
there. Yes, you do. Because when you brought that, I was like, "Be careful, mate."
Well, the thing is, right? It got to it did get to a point where because I have a subscription with Odeon where it's like 20 quid a month and I can go see any film for free, or like upgrade to £5 and I can see it in IMAX as well.
Yeah.
Um, literally because I want to see Black Panther at the time, and if I didn't have the subscription, it would cost me £18 to see the film.
Hmm.
Because there's like the base price, which is like £10, and then because it's a new film and it's a blockbuster and it's like opening week and like stuff like that they add on, it's fucking it's madhouse.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like this, the apparently prices have gone down since, but like it's ridiculous the amount of um like price tags that they add on for new films.
Oh, okay. Sounds like a good. We don't do that at View, by the
Yeah.
way.
No, well, okay. Yeah, every film is like what, £7 in Fulham
At
anyway.
full, at least, it will vary from site to
Yeah.
site, but at full.
Anyway, so literally it was like the difference between £18 now for one film, or £20, and then I can come back and like watch more films. So there was a
Yeah.
point where I went to the cinema pretty fucking often to see just any film that's kind of on that I was sort of interested in.
Yeah.
So like I remember there's so many films that I've like seen that I barely remember at this point just because I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll go watch it, why not? Um that is gone now, pretty much. Like, I don't think I'll really do that all that much. I think at this point, if I am to go to the cinema, first of all, not alone, because that feels whatever now, and
Yeah.
very
Fun.
targeted.
Yeah.
So basically, like, I'm pretty much now inclined to like only go see a film in a cinema that I actually want to see and that I've been
Yeah.
waiting for, and everything else just kind of, it's like, oh, here's this. Oh, I remember seeing Uncle Drew in cinema, and I'm like, I don't even remember what it's. I mean, it's a great film, but I don't remember why exactly I went to see it. It's like about this old like basketball player and his like basketball team, and they have like fucking
Yeah.
they're essentially super people because they play like no other can play.
Okay.
Like they're not actual super people, but they're super good at the game and everything. Anyway, without going into
Back
a
on point.
tangent on that, back on point. Um, the idea of going to the cinema now, to be honest, the idea of going to any social event at this point is just a kind of idea of like, I'm so used to not do that anymore, and so used to like all the alternatives that are around that I'm not really inclined to do it unless there's like a very specific reason.
Yeah.
So for cinemas, it's like only if there's a particular film that I really want to see with someone.
Yeah.
Same goes for like going out to the pub with a couple of friends. Like I used to do that quite often, especially during the summer of 2019 when it was still okay to go out, because that's when I was more like established in the company and I had more people that I
Yeah.
befriend with. I went to the pub pretty much every Friday. You know,
Yeah.
mainly because they had a beautiful like outside area. Um, besides the fact that I can't really afford that right now, it just feels so void to me to now go to the pub every single Friday. Like once they open
Yeah.
up, it's like if there's a leaving due or just like a birthday party, then yeah, I'll go. Probably depends on the person whose birthday or leaving due it actually is, or both.
Yeah.
But to purposely like go to these places now just because a couple of people want to hang out, it's like no, no, go home.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm. The issue is I am. No, I'm worried about the cinema industry at this point. Everything else, but anyway.
Yeah,
I guess we should look to wrap it up. We've kind of gone over quite badly.
we've gone much over. We've come back to the
Two
original
hours.
last topic is like an hour long. Anyway, thank you very much for watching if you did. Um and if you didn't, then that's just as well. Um don't forget to subscribe if you actually enjoy listening to this. I'm currently working on potentially getting old seasons of the show onto Spotify maybe. I just want to check because apparently there's like really good tools for specifically podcasts on Spotify rather than podcast as music albums on, because apparently there's like progress bars and shit for podcasts. It's actually pretty cool. So I need to look
Alright.
into that a little bit better. But yeah, so you can actually listen to us speaking while driving or eating lunch.
Or just doing anything, really.
Yeah,
You need some soft background sound while you're plying your woman. Put on an
this
episode of
is it.
something.
This is it. And just for her to know as well, you're doing a stellar job. Really, like the moves and everything. Like you really know what you do. Have you practiced recently? Oh, wait, does she know you practice with other people? Is that is that not known? Oh. Um anyway, we'll be back
And
next week. Yes.
in her.
See you guys next
Watching
week.